So bend your knees. And notice where your knees are, seeing we've just done all of that, in relationship to your feet. Does your knee feel directly over your foot? Maybe one knee feels a little bit more in or out than the other. And can you remember in the lesson on, must have been Tuesday, and Feldenkrais was walking around berating a woman for having her knees in a terrible place. Do you remember that? So what was he showing her? Can you remember? Exactly the same thing he was just saying there about his knee. But what are all the things that influence that alignment of your knee over your foot? So really, we're just going to explore this a little bit, and it's really going to make a difference where your feet are in relationship to your knees. The influence that will have on this movement. So again, this morning we were doing a really simple movement with Lisa of starting to lift your pelvis. How do you do that? What do you do? So you might want to explore that movement by maybe taking your feet a little bit further away from you. So more away from your pelvis. So there'd be a bigger distance between your pelvis and your feet. And feel, how does that influence the direction your pelvis might roll in to lift? And the amount of work your pelvis does and the amount of work your feet do. And where you're shifting the weight to when the feet are quite a bit of a distance in front of your knees. So where does your pelvis need to go if your feet are in front of your knees? Does it roll toward 12 o'clock or 6 o'clock? What do people feel? 12? And what would your low belly be doing? Would your low belly be pulling in a little bit or pushing out? Pulling in, generally, if you were going toward 12 o'clock. 12 is the top and 6 is the bottom. For this particular one, okay? So what about if you bring your feet in closer, more under your knees? How does that influence the options you have with what you do with your pelvis? So get your feet as much as possible under your knees, wherever that is for you. so that you really feel as much as you can at the moment that your lower leg is vertical, or what Feldenkrais said, that I could come and sit on your knee and it would be able to support my weight. And think about that movement we did way back in the first ATM of gently pushing your low belly forward. Remember, we were in sitting. We did this movement of pushing your low belly forward and then pulling your low belly in. And really put your hands down on your low belly, just above your pubic bone. So you can really feel this is the area that we're talking about. That your low belly pushes forward and down a little bit, which will tend to roll you a little bit towards your sit bone. And then to go the other way, if you pulled your belly, lower belly in, there's probably a little roll toward the top of your sacrum. And then begin to play around with which of those would be easier to lift your pelvis. And I'll add another bit onto that. Which one of those would be easier to lift your pelvis to enable you to put your weight onto your feet? So rather than your feet doing the work, which way of using your low belly could help you to lift your pelvis straight up in the air to put the weight onto your feet more? You're just exploring at the moment. So which one would make your belly longer? Which one would make your belly shorter? And what difference would it make to what happens in the curve of your neck? To your sternum? So when might your shoulders want to lift a little bit away from the floor? When might they want to go backwards and widen back toward the floor? And then we're going to add another part to the investigation, that you could find a way that you could now lift your pelvis using either of those ways with your low belly that will most easily allow you to come up onto your upper back and find lightness up there, that you're not putting all your weight up onto your upper back, but that you're distributing the weight as you lift your pelvis between your feet and your shoulders. So you can begin to feel what's the difference if when I'm up there at the top of my back, do I want my low belly to be long or do I want it to be pulled in? Which one's going to most easily allow me to have soft hips so that when I'm up there that my knees could easily move a little bit in and out, that they could clap each other a little bit? Okay, so what are people finding? Come up to sitting. Let's see what people are finding. Because again, it's going to depend on your organisation. I might get the skeleton as well. I'll get it. It's fine.